This is the brand new ROG Phone 9. Technically, it is the ROG Phone 9 Pro edition, but it performs the exact same as the base version ROG Phone 9. The Pro just looks different, and the Pro edition has the AeroActive Cooler X Pro included in the box, as well as having the most storage and RAM available. Those are the only differences between these three variants. Now, with that out of the way, I have high hopes regarding the ROG Phone 9. Equipped with the latest Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset and a beefier cooler, can the ROG Phone 9 cool the device down? I've done way too many tests, and here is my full review of the ROG Phone 9 Pro. We are not talking about the AeroActive Cooler X Pro in this video, as we have already done that in a separate video for that. So now, let's take a look at what this phone has to offer. So please do subscribe and share, as this really took a very long time and multiple tests, because ROG decided to push firmware updates after we have done all the tests. Yay! So obviously we have to talk about the performance first. The ROG Phone 9 series, as mentioned earlier, is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset from Qualcomm. It boasts an entirely new Orion CPU architecture with major improvements across the board, but how does it actually perform in real life? Well, actually very good. The frame rate has been really consistent in games like Genshin Impact at the highest graphical settings. The temperature though, it can fly up to around 49 degrees Celsius, but there is a new update after we published the video, and that throttled the performance a bit further. We are still getting great frame rates and mostly hovering at about 47 degrees Celsius right now, which is what it should have been in the first place. Just know this, the ROG Phone 8 also had a beefy cooler, and that is the only phone that can tame the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Now, the ROG Phone 9 has an even beefier cooler, and it can also tame the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Just imagine other phones that are using the 8 Elite but doesn't have such a beefy cooler. Those devices will probably hit the 47 degree limit and then thermal throttle aggressively. In games like Zenless Zone Zero with the intense boss fight that lasts for a long time, it is mostly at 60 FPS, though sometimes it can have minor frame dips to about 50-ish FPS for a split second. Still, it is very stable, but it does go up to like 47-48 degrees Celsius. We did say that War Thunder was not working very well on this phone, but since then, ROG pushed an update or two, and the phone will now run the game at 60 FPS, and the issue seems to have been resolved, and we're getting nice and smooth frame rates, so that's good. If you want to know how other games perform on the ROG Phone 9, then watch the video at the top right corner there, or the link is down in the description below. So with that out of the way, how's the actual battery life of the ROG Phone 9? Qualcomm also boasts the Snapdragon 8 Elite to be more efficient than before, and ROG also used a slightly higher than before battery capacity of 5800 mAh. It is an equivalent value here because ROG uses dual cell batteries connected in series, so the voltage is doubled but the amperage is cut in half. We've talked about this in another video, so link at the top right corner there or down in the description below. So then, we did a total of 3 different battery tests this time. One with the LEDs turned off and the refresh rate set to auto. That yields a fantastic 20 hours and 38 minutes in our battery life test. It's not really that big of an improvement over the ROG Phone 8, even though the battery capacity has been increased by an equivalent of 300 mAh. The ROG Phone 9 Pro also has 648 LEDs compared to 341 LEDs we had on the ROG Phone 8 Pro. This will also affect the battery life as well, so I turned on the LED lights and left the refresh rate in auto, then ran the battery life test once more. This time we're getting 18 hours and 25 minutes only. Yikes, the battery life is actually worse than the ROG Phone 8 Pro with those LEDs turned on. And finally, if we lock it down to 165Hz, which disables the dynamic refresh rate that saves battery, and then turn on the LEDs, the battery life will drop to about only 14 hours and 52 minutes. The charging speed is also pretty standard for an ROG phone at this point in time, with a 65 watts USB PD-PPS charger in the box, and you can charge your phone with either the bottom or the side port. If you do use ROG's included charger in the box, it supports something called the Hypercharge. It's technically the same 65 watts USB PD PPS, but it just has this fancy animation that shows you the percentage of up to 2 decimal points. That's it. To show you what I mean here, we charge the ROG Phone 9 with the included charger first, and that goes up from 15% to completion in about 42 minutes, but the temperature is really high as it can reach 45 degrees Celsius. This is what happens when we try to boost the charging speed as much as possible. Then if we use our own USB PD PPS charger, it charges from 15% to completion in about 46 minutes, which is well within the margin of error, and the temperature is also a bit lower than before, but still high in comparison with other phones that are not ROG. By the way, ROG phones also have bypass charging, so you can turn that on if you want to play games while connected to the charger. As for the screen, the ROG Phone 9 series will be equipped with a 6.78-inch OLED screen with a resolution of 2800 by 1080, and it goes up to 185Hz refresh rate, but that can only be turned on when we play games. Some games like Subway Surfers have unlocked FPS, so we can get 185Hz there. Otherwise, we are locked down to 165Hz at most. Now, the screen in itself is actually very good. It can go up to 1730 nits brightness at most, and that is very near to the brightest display that we have tested so far. As for the color accuracy, the ROG Phone 9 with its default settings can cover 99.86% of sRGB and 98.84% of DCI-P3 color gamuts. This is impressive. Do remember that if you want to lock it to a high refresh rate, then the battery life will be affected. So my recommendation will to be just leave it in the auto refresh rate so that you can get the best battery life possible. And in terms of the software, our particular unit here has been updated to version 1810.78. The experience though is pretty much the same as before. While it is running on Android 15, the overall features and UI and whatnot is just very identical to what we had before. Now, that is not a bad thing, as ROG phones are very close to stock AOSP, and not having any extra bloatware or system apps is definitely a good thing. The features that we've seen from the past ROG phones, like the accents to skip dialogues and Genshin Impact, the auto load feature that just automatically picks up stuff, and also the auto escape from getting frozen or bubbles are very handy features to have. Of course, these features are not perfect, and ROG brought the issues from the previous generations to the new one as well. The air triggers are also on the ROG Phone 9, and they are no longer using the capacitive triggers like the ROG Phone 8, so this one is much more reliable. I thoroughly enjoyed my time playing COD Mobile on this phone. I still would have preferred a physical trigger like on the Black Shark phones, but that company is sadly MIA. But I have to say, the software update policy on the ROG Phone 9, no, the entire ROG Phone series for that matter, has been a joke. Even this new ROG Phone 9 series will only get 2 generations of Android OS upgrades and 5 years of security patches. I have no idea why ROG can't provide at least 4 generations of Android OS upgrades, since they are using the top of the line chipset and has a beefy cooling system anyway. And don't forget that the ROG Phone 9 Pro Edition has way too much RAM and way too much storage, and this phone isn't cheap. I think that this is also a good time to talk about the design of the phone. The ROG Phone 9 has the exact same shape as the ROG Phone 8, and the Pro version looks like this and also feels the same as before, but the Anime Vision now has more LEDs. There are so many LEDs now that we can actually play some games on it too. It is called the Anime Play, and we literally just look at the back of the phone and use those air triggers to play the game. It's a neat feature for sure, but I'm not sure if anyone will actually play games on that Anime Vision. So yeah. The camera bump also did increase a little bit in size, so most of the existing cases will not fit. Do check out our other video where we talk about the case compatibility and whatnot, so link again is at the top right corner there or down in the description for you. Now let's talk about the cameras. The ROG Phone 9 Pro has the exact same cameras as the ROG Phone 8 Pro, but the OIS system, I think it did get an improvement on top of the 6-axis gimbal stabilizer. In super bright daylight shots, the sceneries and skylines, all the 3 cameras generally look okay, but they do look a bit dull and washed out. If we are shooting a subject, like in this case the snowman, we can see that the color consistency between the three cameras are just not there. It looks different between three cameras. In this scenario, it's the same as well. The buildings and the sky change color because the white balance is changing. Indoor shots in the mall is a bit more drastic as the exposure is just all over the place. Night shots actually look okay, but it does have some very noticeable sharpening effect in the pics, especially on the ultra-wide angle camera and the telephoto cameras. I do think that the camera is kind of subpar, but this is first and foremost a gaming phone, so the cameras are considered secondary, at least to me. As for the videography side, the ROG Phone 9 can take up to 8K 30fps or 4K 60fps, so let's first take a look at 4K 60fps videos. This is taken with the adaptive stabilization mode and it looks quite okay. There are definitely some jitters if I'm filming and walking at the same time, but the overall video quality is okay. Then we can turn it down to 1080p 60fps and film it in this hyper steady mode. It works really well and reduces the motion even further, though the jitters will still remain in the video. And a few more things to mention about the ROG Phone 9. It does have two USB Type-C ports as usual. The bottom USB-C port is a USB 2.0 port, whereby the side port is a USB 3 port. We still have the audio jack at the bottom side as well, but we can use the AeroActive Cooler X Pro to quote-unquote move the audio jack to the side, so it is out of the way when we are playing games. The side port also supports display over USB-C, so that is great news for those who want to use this feature. It also has dual SIM card slot, and in certain regions of the world, it only has a single SIM card slot with eSIM support. I know that we have complained about not having front-facing stereo speakers on the ROG Phone 8, but ROG kind of fakes that by just including a case to redirect the sound from the bottom to the front. And it actually works really well too. So if you want to know more about that, then the video is once again at the top right corner there or down in the description below. And basically there is everything that you need to know about the ROG Phone 9. So should you buy it though? That is a question that I think is very difficult to answer, so let me share with you my personal thoughts. I think that the ROG Phone 9 is a very incremental upgrade. Yes, it comes with the new Snapdragon 8 Elite, but honestly, it just looks and feels to be a very minor upgrade over the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. So all of Qualcomm's advertisement with all the flamboyant numbers, yeah, it's just not that big of a deal. Seriously, Qualcomm kept shouting about 3 million points in AnTuTu, but that score is just very unrealistic. I only got that once and never again. I suspect that in order to get a consistent 3 million points in AnTuTu, we will have to put the phone's motherboard, strap it directly to something like the Noctua NHD15, or just put the whole thing into a freezer and then let it boost to the maximum power as much as possible. Oh, the 3 million points in AnTuTu, I got it when the firmware was in version 18.10.50. With the latest version, ROG throttled the performance even further, and I can only get like 2.6 million points, that's about it. That's why I'm saying that their 3 million points advertisement is just very unrealistic. If you're using the ROG Phone 7 or older, then I think this could be a very good time to upgrade. Only if you want the highest FPS possible. As for the price for the ROG Phone 9 alongside with all of the accessories, then I'm showing you on the screen here. The AeroActive Cooler X Pro is also sold separately, so you can buy the ROG Phone 9 or 9 Pro and then get the cooler later. I personally think that the cooler is not really needed, but having extra buttons to press is definitely a boon. So let me know what do you think about the ROG Phone 9 down in the comment section below. I'd love to know all of your thoughts because I've seen a lot of colorful comments about this phone in our gaming test video already. I will definitely read all of your comments and we'll see you guys in the next video.